Okay. Okay, everybody, let's do this. Let's see if I can share my screen and get this going. So welcome to GradLab. I'm really excited to present to you more ways to help you figure out how to be successful in your graduate journey. So let me hit, oops, there we go. Let's hit that, and we're off and running. All right. So hopefully I'm going to make this as quick and painless as possible. So tonight we're going to talk about successful mentoring for yourself to help guide you, and what we call the IDP, which is individual development plan, and some ways to help frame your communications with your advisor. We call it the GATE, Graduate Advising Topics and Expectations. And it really is a way for you to work with your advisor. And if you're uncomfortable asking questions, you can always go in the form and say, I was given this, this form, and this is some of the topics that we check off. I think we should go over, and will help frame your expectations as well as your advisors. So I have a saying. It says, if you don't write it down, it's a wish. I believe that if you don't say, these are the things I want to accomplish, and you just have it in your head, how are you ever going to make them real unless you set a deliberate path forward? So I'm here to arm you with those tools to make your dreams come true. So today, again, one of the things you might want to do is there's 3 PDFs. There's actually 3 PDFs here. And if you want to have them open on your screen so that you can fill them in as we go. So it could be like a workshop that you're actually helping to fill these things out while I'm going through the slides. That might be helpful. So this way you come out of the workshop already with your plan, rather than saying, oh, I got to go back later and do it. So one of them is called, it's for graduate student, postdoctoral scholar. It's creating the plan. And this is an assessment tool. So we'll talk about, it's going to ask us some questions to help us figure out where and what we need help with, or what we want to do. And then once you develop this plan, there's a progress report for you to do once in a while, for you to just go back and check, how am I doing on my milestones? How am I doing here? Do I need to change things? Am I making the things I thought I was going to do? And then later on, I want to talk about the GATE form, which is trying to help you specifically know what topics to talk about with your advisor, and to be able to structure those conversations, because the best communication helps mitigate, assumptions, and keeps you and your advisor thinking on the same plane, so that there's no surprises and that you graduate on time. So this is an example of what they look like. Now, some of them, it has a Tufts header on it, but it's applicable to any school, whether you're in sciences or if you're in engineering. It's pretty generic. So and you don't even have to put your name on it right now, but this is the progress report. This is the, some of the files that you'll see, and we will go through them. So let's start. All right. So what is it about being a graduate student? It says, sorry, any plans for Friday night? I have plans, big plans to get out of this place someday. And that's really some of the things that I see students go into graduate programs. I was like, oh my God, when am I going to get out? And that's unfortunate that it's not all fun and games, because it is hard work. But at the same time, it's sad that we don't have a definitive, I am graduating in May, on May 22nd, I know I'm graduating. And sometimes as a PhD, you can't do that. Master students doing thesis sometimes can't do that. So, if you're taking all courses, you have you can take the B and get out, but your advisors and your projects sometimes are required to really be at the discretion of your advisor and your mentor. So this is going to help you get through that. And if you're a postdoctoral scholar, you're probably looking to get research experiences to move on to either a full-time position, or to get the skills. You still have to work with somebody who's your mentor. And if you're, you're working with somebody writing grants and things like that, again, expectations are huge. You need to know what they are and how to communicate them and what's reasonable, because somebody can say, oh, I expect you to write 12 grants while you're here, and you're going to do this, this, and that. And, and you're just going to, well, you know what? They could set the expectations to be so unrealistic that no matter what you do, you're not meeting their expectations. And that's a recipe for disaster. So let's talk about, what is this IDP for? It's really to create a roadmap of skills and competencies So to get you to achieve your career goals. So we're going to talk about what is it you want out of your career. Before we can say what skills you need, you really need to know what you want to do with your life. It's a document for you. You don't have to show it to anybody. It's really more about us writing down the wish. So, I'll give you an example. I once said to, my advisor, I want to be able to I want to apply and work for NASA and work on simulations for NASA. And I just remember the look like, what is she, crazy? If your dream is crazy, you write it down. Guess what? You will get there. I got to work for NASA and I got to do those simulations. So who's really crazy? Don't be afraid to put down. And if you don't have to share it. So if it's super, super crazy, like, you want to go to space someday and, visit Mars, put it down. We're okay with it. We want you to be dreamers and we want you to innovate. So the next one. So let's go through, let's make sure I got the right thing. Let's start with the career path. So this is the first thing that you'll see. So, this is one of the things where, do you know what you don't know? So for instance, I was a computer engineer by training, and I thought all computer engineers go design computers. So if you asked me, am I familiar with my possible career paths? I would say, yeah, I'm going to be design computers. If you can only think of, I can go to academia and be a professor, or I can go work for this company in this specific field, I wouldn't say I strongly agree that you know all the possibilities, because you should have at least 5 to 10 different disciplines that you can see yourself in, or that you can apply to. And there should be some stretch ones. Maybe you're a computer engineer, but you want to do biomedical stuff, or things like that. Don't limit yourself to thinking that if you are an electrical engineer, you're going to be building circuits. That's not what we want to see. So this is where you need to be honest with yourself. And if you say, I'd like some more information on career paths, that's where we can help you. That helps us say, you know what, we can help you with that. And then you can also say, are you interested in academic or industry? A lot of my students getting PhDs say, I'd like to look at academia, but I think I want to go make some money in industry and get some experience first. That's an absolute valid way to think about. So you can check off both, and see what you want to explore. Money talks. So if you want to go make a lot of money before you suffer on the tenure track somewhere, we can do it. Some students want to work for governments. They want to write policy and technology and policy, and that's a huge one. Private sector, maybe you want to be doing your own career. Maybe you want to do your own entrepreneurial startup business, or, you're really interested in nonprofit. So nonprofit, all these things require different skills, and the entry points might be a little bit different. And then, of course, if you want to be management, so a lot of students will go and say, you know what, I'm really good at leading teams, and I like the big picture and coming up with the big picture and bidding on things and putting together these big ideas, but I don't want to be coding, or, things like that. And that's usually what people say to me is, I don't want to be I know what I don't want. I don't want to be in a cubicle, all day writing code. And just so you know, I've been sitting at this computer since, 8 hours ago, not writing code, but sitting in front of a computer. But I still had fun because I'm interacting with people, even if it's virtually. So just thinking of what you don't want can actually help you along the way. But make sure, if you're going to use something to eliminate a career, that you truly understand it, because people always think that, electrical engineers, that we're just building circuits. Oh, I don't want to do that. That's why people don't go into electrical engineering, but we know better. Okay. And then if write down what career you are interested in. And if you don't know, don't beat yourself up, because I had no clue what I want to do. Here's a big one. I'm willing to relocate to pursue my chosen career path. This is one that I absolutely was like, no way am I leaving Massachusetts, and I'm leaving the ocean, and I'm leaving my home and my family. So that's a big one. That does limit. I'm lucky I live in a hub, but it really helped me set a framework, because I was like, I'm not going off to California. I'm not going to worry about these things. So now, I want you to think of the way we can help you. So your graduate program, I'll be talking about what I do at Tufts, but I want you to know that every institution has the same resources, and you can find these resources. We'll talk about them, and how, if you don't have them, HKN will probably have them for you in one of our pathways projects. Professional skills. All right, so again, your research advisor or your advisor that checks off in your courses might not necessarily be your mentor that can help you get jobs. So a lot of people say, well, I want to get a postdoctoral position. And I say, well, what's your advisor say? Oh, he doesn't know anybody. And it's like, oh, well, that's pretty bad. We need help. Do you know that a lot of people in IEEE that I know on a first name basis, I never recognized, but they're deans, they're professors, they're researchers. So you can use your professional affiliation in your engagement in your professional society to help you connect to people. So don't think that you have to get them at your institution. I will say 9 out of 10 times, they're not at your institution. And then have you used them effectively? What does that mean? That doesn't just mean hi, bye, I talk to them once in a while. It really means trying to use your time wisely with them to, regular meetings to discuss specific topics. Maybe you pick something off of a career or that you're working on. And then the next one is teaching experience. Some people say, no, I don't want to teach. Others do. So if you want more teaching experience, let's talk about that. If you're going to be a professor, then you probably want to talk about mentoring. I know how to engage faculty in research discussions. I think young people out of the gate have trouble with this because you're these professors, right? We're scary, evil people that eat our own young. So we might be a little bit frightening. So how do you have a discussion with them so they don't rip your face off? So these are types of things I want you to look at while, and just, you should be checking these off on your form while you go in. And then, and then be honest about your skills. So compared to others, is presentation skills your forte? Are you really good at it? Do you not feel comfortable doing it? Can you actually write a paper on your own without someone correcting all your English and your grammar and beating it up? Are you grant writing? Have you ever even written a grant? So, and all these different things and participation and outreach. So you need to be, everybody's individual. You can check off what you agree and don't agree. Time management, do you meet deadlines? And meeting a deadline and doing a lousy job doesn't mean you really met the deadline. So you really need to feel confident. I met the deadline and I got the work done in a quality manner. Remember, HKN, scholarship, attitude, and character. So the part of that is, doing good deeds here and putting in your best effort. Establishing priorities. I always say this, we seem to, at least I've been used to prioritizing work and everybody else before myself or before what I need to get done for my own work. And sometimes we have to learn how to say no to people. And that's a hard thing to do. Are you an efficient worker? Do you have strong organizational skills? My husband looks at my desktop on my computer and tells me I do not have good organizational skills, but I manage multiple projects. So just because my desktop looks messy, does that mean that I can't find what I need to do quickly? So, and then flexibility about plans. Some people know from day one when they start their program, I want to go work for this company and only that company, and this is what I'm going to do. If you're flexible about it, I was not flexible. I knew exactly I want to be a computer engineer. I want to work for this company, and I interviewed for that company. I got the job, but that was kind of a weak approach to take, because what happens if I didn't get that job? I had only put one path in my way and didn't think about potential options. So, we got to be a little bit flexible. Multitasking. Guess what? If you're doing a graduate program, you're multitasking, taking classes, teaching, TAing, doing all the things you've got to do. I sometimes think that doing a full-time job is easier than being a student because we have less multitasking. But being a professor, is you're multitasking again because you're doing research, you're advising students, you're teaching, you're preparing lectures, you're preparing manuscripts. It's like every part of you is dancing and working constantly. And pacing yourself, that's a hard one because everybody always talks about balance, but it's not really a balance. It's some things when you're writing a grant, everything goes to that, and some other things get pushed aside. So you got to think about that and dealing with your schedule. Maintaining life balance. I don't even want to call it life balance because that's a myth. So I'm not even going to go there. Management and leadership skills. You know, have you even taken any courses on leadership or management? Have you really learned any skills about management? Some of us just manage ourselves, but did we get any real skills to do that? And what about when you need resources? Can you identify them, or even say, approach somebody and say, for this project, I'm going to need this much cloud computing time. I'm going to need access to this lab or this equipment. And when we talk about diverse environments, we're not just talking about people, we're talking about places and things like that. I had to work out on a project on an island. So, you know, if you need materials, guess what? And I had to go up 300 feet into a lighthouse. You need materials. Guess what? It's not like as simple as, oh, go downstairs and get me the screwdriver. You forgot the screwdriver. Guess what? It's an hour back and forth. So diverse environments doesn't always mean people, but it could be uncomfortable. So you need to think about, can you really transplant yourself to working somewhere else? We have people that work on oil rigs that I know of. They fly out by helicopter from NASA to different sites off site every day. I thought that was cool, but for me, I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. The next one is interpersonal skills. This is super, super important. You can be the most brilliant engineer or scientist, but if you can't convey your ideas, your concepts, and convince other people, you are really gonna have trouble trying to lead a company, lead a team. So it's okay to say, you want to work alone on your project. I have a lot of students that just say, I don't want to be on this giant team. I just want to do my own thing, have my own piece, and do on that. That's fine. Know who you are, though. Just know who you are. Don't say that you prefer to work on a team because you think that's what people want to hear. So you need to be honest with yourself. This is all about you, not about what you think people want. And then, this one, I follow conventions and written correspondence. I think one of the things that I see a lot is, now that everybody's texting, we don't even say you at YOU anymore. We just put a U. We put smiley faces. We put everything. We put emojis. I'm the worst offender. I'm the queen of emojis. But when I don't know somebody, I always assume the formalisms, dear Dr. XYZ, not, hey, Karen, how you doing today? Yeah, see you later. Oh, whatever. I'm much more formal when I'm not knowing who, or I haven't built a relationship with that person. So that's something. The biggest detractor I see right now is communication skills, either spoken or written English. So those are some of the things that have really been hindering a lot of students. Having multiple languages, that's a huge asset that people don't really appreciate. And you really should, if you have them, be proud of them and celebrate that, because that's going to open up more doors for you. And can you give constructive feedback and receive it without crying? I know it's hard when your advisor tells you, this is not the level of that I expect of you. And, and here's what you need to do to resolve that. It's everybody, nobody can say, well, yeah, I take constructive feedback. It hurts. Come on, it hurts. You get a grant rejection and you read those reviews. It hurts. Matter of fact, when I get a grant rejection, I typically will not look at it for the first day. And then I have my students look at the comments. I have them summarize it for me. And then I can finally deal with the pain and look at it, because I have to get it in pieces. Because otherwise you're going to be like, oh, these idiots, they don't know what they lost out on. What a stupid comment. It's hard. And don't think it's not. It is. So it's easier to say, oh, yeah, I'm good at getting constructive feedback. It's hard. We all know that. I'm not going to lie to you. Interpersonal skills. Again, I try to, this is HKN, we're a community, and this is my students. This is the way I interact with people. But normally, if I had to do a presentation at a conference or something like that, I would be dressed up. I would have, a very formal, I would be very rigid and formal with the way I speak. And I'd be much more careful with my jokes and my comments. So I try to make things light, but I also try to encourage people. And I don't ever want to put myself so that people can say, oh, look, she diminished herself or she put herself down. You want to put yourself in the best light and hold yourself up as well and be proud of yourself. Managing stress. Okay, this one is a tough one. Again, this is another one of those, yeah, oh yeah, I manage stress effectively. Really? You show me somebody who manages stress effectively. What does that even mean? What does it mean? Does it mean you don't get mad? I mean, I think that I manage stress well enough that I don't cry about it. I don't, beat myself up. I might beat myself just a little bit, but I know, like, okay, that's it. I had my moment, shake it off, move on. But you have to think about, what does that mean? If you are making yourself physically ill or that you can't get out of bed, that's something that you're going to need to work on, because that's not managing stress effectively. If it's taking a toll on your health, if you've got excessive weight gain or weight loss, we're not managing stress well. So we need to think about that. Aspects of your personal life. If you're not a whole and up here and physically, it's very hard to get yourself to be successful. It really is. So if there's stuff going on at home and things like that, and in life, if somebody's sick or someone you love is hurt, they should take priority. And I think that you need to accept, and people and cultures need to accept, you know what? It's nice that I have these deadlines in this grant. My child took his first steps while I was writing a National Science Foundation grant. And here I was looking at the computer, saying, oh my God, I gotta make this deadline. And my little boy walked over to me for the first time. And I just looked at that and I said, what's more important, me and this grant, or the fact that I'm gonna miss this moment because I'm too busy with this? I shut the computer. I didn't even put that grant in. And I don't regret one moment of it, because I know that the thing that I did was way more important. So personal life should always come first, so make sure that, I don't care what anybody says, companies are gonna say, oh no, we want balance. No, your health, your family first, anything else second. So if you need help, do you know where to get it? And do you know how to ask for it? And, and a lot of people, this is where I see people wait to the last minute till they're really almost unrecoverable in their programs. Here's our general research skills. So these are the things that I want, you can ask, do you take good notes? I meet with students and I'm like, why aren't you taking notes? Oh, I'll remember it next week. Did you take notes? Oh no, I forgot what you said. Guess what? And knowing how to do the correct statistical tests or evaluations, and using computer programs, maybe you need MATLAB, maybe you need ANSYS, whatever it is. And again, I ask people to participate in 3-minute thesis competitions. I love them. I think HKN should do one. And the reason I say that is because if you can, in 3 minutes and in one slide, describe your research, motivation, the challenges, and the impact of what you're doing and how you're solving it, you really have achieved a good communication level. So, and I also see that, people in thesis is the first thing sometimes I see is that the references are ancient, and ancient in research means beyond 5 years. So when you're doing your research, you really need to keep up. I submit a grant, it doesn't get accepted. The next year, if I want to resubmit that grant, guess what? I've got to redo that literature search and see what new stuff came out that I might have missed, because everybody else is moving. That doesn't mean the world stands still for me. And then, ethical standards. We always should be ethical. Well, we're HKN, of course we are. So let's talk about this, an individual development plan progress report. So once we built and checked off our individual progress report, we can use this to assess where we are. So it's a way for us to, assess, okay, I set these goals and these are the things I want to do. Am I making any progress towards them? Are my organizational skills any better? Am I managing my stress any better? Whatever your goals are. So this is, an example of, people going mental to try and do their research, and it's just this cycle, and that's not healthy. Come on, next. There we go. So this document contains 3 sections. You can open yours up and we can write it now. Questions about long-term career goals. It's more of a summary. So section 1 is, what's important to you in a career? Is it be able to work from home? Is it the money? Is it, respect? Is it getting tasks that make you feel important or ownership? Is it a social impact company that cares about humanity? All these things are some things that you should be thinking about. And, and maybe a long-term career goal should be, I want to be able to build be an entrepreneur and have my own company and foster new economic businesses for others to grow. So here's some others. What type of work do you want to do? The one thing I always hear people say, I don't want to be in a cubicle programming all day. And what kind of careers might interest you? So this is an example when I say, look at things like I publish in IEEE Women in Engineering or IEEE Potentials. We try to always do interviews of people who are in really cool, exciting careers, because there might be stuff out there that you never heard of. And then again, so if you do this every 6 and 8 months, what advances or changes have occurred since your last IDP? So maybe you might have taken a course on programming, you have a new skill. Maybe you met or attended a conference and you met somebody that really inspired you. Short-term training, again, if you're going to be working on research, let's say you're going to be working on research in AI, and you're going to be asking things about bias. So if you're going to be looking at bias, what do I need? What kind of skills do I need? Well, maybe I need some data science skills. Maybe I need some analytics. Maybe I need to understand data collection. For those of you working in the biological fields, right? Maybe you have to take some training courses on lab safety or how to conduct experiments or learn a new piece of equipment. And, again, what's significant about your current work and how will it advance your field? This is not talking about you and saying, what's the impact that your work is going to be doing? I'm coming up with new cures for COVID. I'm going to help children learn computers easier, faster. I'm going to bring new technology to impoverished nations to bring clean water, whatever it is. And what do you need to learn about your projects to advance your projects? And a lot of times you might find out you need to find out more about people and cultures and places than the technology. Because if you're going to deploy this technology, you need to understand who you're going to be serving. And again, what approaches, have you considered? Or abandoned? I like this abandoned one because people always think that it's all about it works, and we just drill down until we, square peg, and you make that square peg fit in that round hole by shaving off the edges. No, there's points where we say, you know what, this isn't working. It's not achieving the results we need. We need to think of it from a different perspective. And know why it's not working. What is it that's holding us back? What are your plans for disseminating your scholarly activities? Okay, are you going to publish them? Are you going to patent them? Copyright your code? Put it up on GitHub? Publish it? Open access? What is it you're going to do? And if you're going to do that, what do you need to accomplish to get it ready to do that? Are you going to do a poster presentation? Are you going to do a conference? Do you have to submit it? Well, guess what? You're going to submit it somewhere. That's a time. That means you have to make the deadlines, you have to make the revisions, and you have to be there to present it. They're funding opportunities. I think everybody wants money. I think people wait too long before they think about the money. So, I always bring up that IEEE has graduate fellowships, and we're lucky if we see 5 applications. Yet there's thousands of applications for National Science Foundations grants and things like that. And you're competent statistically, you're better off applying to IEEE, but people don't. So don't limit yourself to the common funding opportunities. Be bold and search for lots of them and see what you pursue. Don't just go with the same, don't follow the leader with other people do. Is there other teaching? So if you want to get teaching experience in professional development, you should be able to do that. And how do these courses, a lot of people just I want to take 10 courses, and they're taking disparate courses just to get the degree. Companies don't want to hire somebody like that. Companies want somebody that figure out, hey, this person is trained. they have the skills. I know students that will say, I want to work for Industrial Light and Magic. These are the courses I need. These are the skills I need. And that's what they gear their whole program towards. And, what are the gaps in your training? So here's some questions, the section 3 of the thing. This is making you commit. This is saying, what do you want to do? So we're writing it down. It's no longer a wish. How are you going to do it? In other words, how am I going to get there? And when are you going to do it? Put a time on it. Put a date of completion, and then document when you actually do it. Now in mine, my date of completion, I can tell you right now, I never complete what my own personal goals are on time. I do not beat myself up on it. I just look at my to-do list every day and say, that's still my to-do list. That's still my to-do list. And if it's in your face enough, you'll feel guilty enough and you'll get off your butt and you'll do it. So then you do, and you'll learn things about it. What goals would you like to meet and what skills need to be learned? You might not know the skills. Maybe your mentor will help you know those skills, because you can sit down and say that. I know what I want my goal number 1 to be. Tell me how I can get there. Okay. And how, when are you going to do these things? Really important. And data completion and actual completion. So the next thing we're going to talk about is something called GATE. This is a communication tool that was developed to help us communicate with our advisors and mentors. I think the biggest barrier to graduate education or even postdoctoral is communication with the supervisor, and it can be even in industry, supervisor with someone that's under them that they're supervising. And if it's anything that delays somebody's graduation, it's because the expectations of the graduate student and their advisors don't align. And it's not till they get to they think I'm going to graduate, where I've seen a student say, well, I'm going to graduate in May because I'm first author on a paper. And I remember hearing the professor say, no, because you dropped out of that work. You said you didn't want to work on that project anymore, and somebody else had to finish your work. And what makes you think that just because you have a paper, you're going to graduate? And the student said, well, because, that's what other students told me. And it's like, no, that's not true. So that was an assumption. And all of a sudden you see the faces go down, like, oh my God, and the advisor feels terrible, the student feels terrible. But if you talk about these things up front in a structured conversation without feeling like you're going to get beat up, it works out. So, this GATE is going to help us do that. So let's talk about it. These are things that you can say. So the first thing, this is a checklist, right? You can, if some students never even come into programs, they don't even ask, what's the sick personal leave? Is it maternity leave, family leave? Students don't even know this. Well, why not ask if you're, do I get vacation? I think this is a huge one, because I have departments where vacation is like, what do you mean you get vacation? No, you're working during the break. No, you're working during the summer. And the student comes up and says, well, it's the winter break. My advisor wants me working. I can't do that. You got to have this conversation. So, and then what do I have to go to the colloquia? Every department has seminars. What are the publications is a huge one. We talked about this lots of times, where do I have to publish? What do you consider published? Is it submitted? Is it in revision? Do I have to finish and actually have it out, finalized print and actually, out there? Figure all that out. Is it a journal? Is it a conference? Is it a poster? What is it? And talk about program directors, the graduate program director in your department. I think the big ones I see here are qualifying exams. People don't know those. Thank God most schools are getting rid of foreign language requirements, but a lot of us now have English as a second language requirements because our programs are so international. You might need an institutional review board. Again, a lot of these mean you might actually have to take courses to train. When I first started doing experiments on human subjects, my students and I, we tested on ourselves. We didn't think about it. And then finally somebody said, are you doing an IRB compliance? And we were like, what? What's that? and somebody had said, no, you can't be experimenting on humans. Even if it's yourself doing this, you need an IRB. So, and if you're going to be working with animals, there's more compliance. So, and then everybody has a graduate student handbook. You should really pick it up and look at it. Plagiarism, what are the rules? We're in HKN, we shouldn't have to worry about this, but you should know what they consider it. And then, what about, how's my funding? Who am I being funded by? Am I being funded by the department? Am I being funded by your grant? Which grant? Can I see the grant? Can I see what the topics were and what we're committing to? Why not? How do you want me to communicate? Can I text you? How frequently will we meet? I often see postdocs and graduate students, master's students that work for famous researchers, and then they come back and they're disappointed because they're like, I get to meet with them once every 2 months. I have to meet with the postdoc all the time. Understand that. Feedback procedures. How do you want to receive feedback? Is it, what I only give you feedback when we sit down? Is it written? I ask my students to always do PowerPoint presentations of what they've done and some of the issues, and that's what we do. And then that way we have a running track record of all the things, and then they have the presentations. And what support do they get for research? This one I like, because every school, while this is talking a little bit about Tufts, every school has these same resources. So, if you need a extended testing time, or you have some dyslexia or some other learning issue that you need help with, every school has resources to help people with this. If English is not your first language, focus on trying to build English and how to communicate. Every school has a career center. Get to know it immediately. Don't wait till you're looking for a job to figure out, oh, wow, by the way, here's where I need his career center. Schools like Tufts have places for learning and teaching, so that you can go and learn how to create a syllabus, learn how to put a lab together, learn how to run a flipped classroom. Libraries. Now, you might not physically want to go to the library, but you should know how to make requests and access it and get onto their VPN so you can access all the IEEE Explorer things. Your alumni association, one of the biggest connections, that they come from Mentor, right for you to reach out for a mentor. And then another thing people forget about is, like, I'm the Dean of Graduate Education. Any engineer in the School of Engineering and a master's PhD program, I'm there for them. So if they come, they have a question about a program, they're not getting it from their advisor, don't be afraid to go ask. And we're not the enemy. We're not going to run back to your advisor and say, oh, your student came in our office and they were complaining. I never do that, never. And the counseling center, something's not right, do not wait till everything else has fallen apart in your life. Everybody today, especially with COVID, counseling is something, use it, it's there, use it. And then your international center. If you have questions about visas or how to get work experience and how to get your OPT, CPT. Peer relations. What's the team structure in the lab? Does everybody have their own place to sit? Is there any hierarchy, or is there one person that supervises the other? Are there any lab rules that I need to know about how we work together? Do we have group meetings every week? And when, grievances, how do you vent a grievance if somebody's rude to you? I had one time students in my lab weren't getting along. They actually put red tape around their desks to say, this is my area, that's your area. And hopefully it doesn't get to that. So, now I have a rule that when somebody new joins my lab, I make my current students interview them to make sure they can work with them too. So research, here's all the things. What do you want to talk to your advisor about? Do you want to talk about getting external funding? Do you want to talk about publications? Authorship. Whose name goes first? Does it really matter? So, but ask about it, because you don't want to be surprised when these things come up. I'll give you for instance, when I write a journal and I give my students the major premise concept, my name goes first. But if they come up with it and it's conference papers, I love to see my students put their name first on conference papers. But this is something we establish, we talk about it. And so there's no surprises. Lab notebooks. If I come in and I say, okay, I want to see the documentation on these experiments you ran, and you're like, oh, well, I didn't really write them down. Guess what? I want to see that. I want to document it because I want to archive it and share it with the rest of my lab. And then the workload. There's weeks you're going to say, I've got midterms, I've got finals, I've got all this other stuff going on, and you can't do it. You got to be able to talk about that. What else? So there's other forms for postdocs. I put these links here if you want them. and training, things like that. And these are available. And again, these are the questions we want you to be able to ask yourself and things that you can help yourself do. So, you can reach me here at this email. And at this time, I will just entertain any questions that you might have. And there's my question in the chat. Oh, there's the link to tools. Okay. Well, we've kept all 8 participants, so I thank you for staying. Is there anybody who wants to ask a question? You all want to go to dinner, lunch? Okay, Kim, I don't see anything. Are we good?
Looks like it.
All right, well, if you have any,
one question
sure. What'd you say, Kim?
in the Q&A.
In the Q&A, I don't see anything. Q&A, what's the question? Can you read to me? Oh, Q&A, where's that? I see.
It's next to chat.
Oh, there it is. There it is. Are there courses for research methodology at Tufts? Yes, there is. There actually is. So we have a lot of, Kim, do you actually have the, for Tufts, we have the
So
yeah, we have this, yeah, we have something called CELT, the Center for Education and Learning and Technology.
and
They,
teaching.
yep, they actually teach you things like grant writing. They teach you how to manage your resources, your references, and things like that. So yes, that might be, and if that's a future topic that you folks want to see, I'm happy to make another grad lab just on research methodologies.
I think it's called Center for Excellence in Learning and Teaching.
Okay. Okay. And yeah, so there's courses there. So if you are from Tufts, you can look at that. And if somebody is interested, you can look, and you're not from Tufts, you can look at that CELT website here at Tufts and then decide, hey, Karen, can you please do another grad lab just on research methodologies? Because we're always, part of this grad lab is we're trying to get feedback from graduate students to tell us what you need. I've been telling you what I know that you need, but sometimes better for yourself what you'd like to see more of. Okay, so anything else? If not, all right. If not, I'm going to stop recording.